For the ones ensuring the job always gets done, and the ones
Apparently fishing is not working, and it's not going to want to. So I might have to disable it for the stream because I don't feel like figuring out how to fix it. Hi, everybody! Let me do this really quick so I don't forget. No, do not oopsies. It's totally not your fault. I don't know what happened to it. It's just deciding to not work today. So I'm just gonna disable it really quick and give you those points back because I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with that. I'm logged into it and everything's fine. It should work. There's no reason why it shouldn't work. Okay, Trent, thank you so much for being first. Skolos, thank you for being second and streaking. This dress looks soft. It is. It's very soft. Oh my goodness. House and Sam, thank you so much for the subs. I will get stickers in a second. Cooley, if you're still here, hello, hi, bye. Thank you for stopping in. It's always so good to see you. Aiton, hi, you're here early. I love that for you. Hello, hello. House, thank you. Beardride, hello. Welcome in. Good to see you. Hello, hello, Sam. This will keep bugging me if I don't make it a thing. Thank you so much. I've got stickers for the both of yous. Unfortunately, I don't have a place to put these, so today they will be going on my skin. Wushi, hi. Hello, hello. I decided not to work today, too. Okay, it really wasn't a choice. Well, you know. Shit happens. It does. It's better to shit in the sink than to sink in the shit. I took part of the day off too. Wonderful. I was hoping that this stream could be just like a vibey, like everyone is just hanging out. I love you, Trin. I hope you're doing well. I'm been following updates, and I'm so unbelievably grateful to April for keeping me updated yesterday. It really gave me a lot of peace of mind. Yeah. Yeah, Squirrel lost his job. Huge bummer, but you know, such is life. I was talking to my friend this morning. I was on the phone with my friend. I was on the phone with one of my friends yesterday. Squirrel, thank you for streaking. Yeah, I was on the phone with one of my friends yesterday for 2 hours. And I was on the phone this morning with a different friend for 2 hours. And, you know, the thing that I've learned from both conversations is that life just happens. Sometimes life just happens to you, and you just gotta, like, roll with the punches. Streaking. This is my always, like, streaking, hello. So today we're going to read Carmilla. Carmilla is a vampire novella that was written, it was published in 1872. Life do be lifing. It was published in 1872, and I don't know if you guys know this about Dracula. Dracula was published in 1897. Smash. Yeah, why is my mic peaking? My gain is not... That's so weird. Oh, have I? Okay, hold on. I think that might be better. I don't know. Let me know how I sound, if I sound okay. Smothering my sorrows with carrot cake. I love that for you. Yeah, Carmilla. Cow, thank you so much for the lurk. You guys know I love vampires. I love everything vampy. I love Dracula. Obviously, I've gotten hardcore back into V Rising, which, by the way, I posted in my gaming chat in my Discord. V Rising's Halloween pack is back, and it's free. It's free Halloween DLC. But I listened to a podcast called Classic Ghost Stories, and he read Carmilla, and he did it in a couple episodes. We probably won't be able to finish it today, but I'm gonna try. It's a romp. I fall asleep listening to his podcast, so I know he did Carmilla, and I know I may have listened to some of it. But much like any performance, I'm very nervous to read this out loud to you guys. I used to read Bram Stoker's The Mist. Speaking of Dracula, I used to do nighttime streams from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. and read books, and I was reading Bram Stoker's The Man. Excellent. Okay, I will hit you up. What am I doing after stream? Nothing. I think I'm free. I'm not free tomorrow. No stream tomorrow, you guys. I got a phone call right before stream started, and I have to skip town at like 1 p.m. I have therapy from 12 to 1, and I'm skipping town at 1 p.m. So no stream tomorrow, which is a bummer, which means I'm only streaming twice this week, which is a bummer. The last 2 months of streaming for me, because I do this full time, and the last 2 months for me have been really all over the place, and it's been really hard on me. It's been really hard on me not being able to stream on a schedule and just do my 4 days a week. I miss just doing my 4 days a week. And hopefully after this month, we'll get it figured out. Other announcements. I'm like just going to go through the announcements now because I don't know if we're going to yap. Next week, Tuesday, I'm not going to stream again. It'll be kind of the same as this week. I'll stream Monday, and then I'll try to stream Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday on the FinFam. And then on the Monday following, I'm going to have a special guest on my stream. My friend Ellie, who I was talking to this morning, she does these, like, talk performances. She does talks at places. Hi, Christian. It's good to see you. She does talks and things at places, and she's doing one on zombies, so I thought it would be really fun to have her on the stream. I watched her presentation this morning. She's doing it tomorrow night at a place, and she was like, it would be fun to do it on your podcast, and I was like, yeah, my live stream, absolutely. She's like, I don't know what it is. It's a podcast. It's totally fine, Christian. I see you like hanging out waiting for me to go live, and I appreciate it so much. But do not ever worry about being here on time or like being here at all. I'm never on time. Like do not ever worry. So the 28th, we're going to do a zombie stream, and she's going to be on the stream. And then I might show her some zombie games because she talks a lot about zombies and pop. She talks about the origin and the history of zombies, and then talks about zombies and pop culture. And you know, ran it past me and my brother just to see if she was kind of like missing anything, but she didn't have anything in video games. She had the Resident Evil movie, and I was like, well, the movie's based on the game that came out in 1997, so 97 or 98? The first Resident Evil came out in the late 90s. I know that for a fact. And there's been 12 of them since, 8 numbered franchise games, and then the offshoots of those. And I have played none of them. But I did have a question for everyone who's here, since we will be reading. I have this lo-fi playlist playing right now, or I'm gonna do a poll. I'm gonna actually do a poll. The options will be spooky lo-fi or rainy campfire. Because, and we're gonna make this we'll make this a 5-minute poll. Because right now I have the spooky lo-fi on, which will be fine. I'm gonna be reading out loud over it. And if you want to hear the other option, actually I can just do this really quick. The other option is this. It's a little loud. I can turn it down a little bit, I think. Just like rainy, thunderstorm, crackly ambiance is the other option. Because I thought this would be fun. Very white noise-y. But if you want to vote in the poll, this is the spooky ambiance. And then this is the Halloween lo-fi. Which I don't know if any of that is copyrighted, so it might mute parts of the VOD, which is gonna suck. We're tied right now, so we'll just do both at the same time. I might just not do anything because the ads. Because the ads, they're so jarring. Yeah, there's a lot of Resident Evil games. There's a lot of games that I want to play, period, in general. Okay. I like this. I don't dislike this. Excellent. Okay. What's winning right now? Rainy Campfire is winning. This is what it sounds like. It's a little loud. I might turn it down. But it is also on YouTube. It will... It's like, now I'm like, I feel like I might make the call and choose this one because there's not going to be any audio muting on the VOD. But we're gonna do this. I don't know. 5 minutes for a poll is really long, but Rainy Campfire is winning. I wish I could just end polls early. I can report it. I can report it. And then this way too, with the ambiance in the background, I don't have to worry about having my headphones on. It'll be a lot easier for me to hear myself when I'm talking too, because that's important when reading out loud in general. Vanny, are you still here? I shouldn't have read that. Perfect timing to sit down, it seems. It is. We're about to get started. Now I can't. I shouldn't have. I'm gonna put my phone on Do Not Disturb so that it doesn't disturb me, because that's disturbing. Hey, I don't know if y'all know this about Vanny, first of all. Specificity is so Okay, I'm immediately shouting out. If you guys don't follow Vanny, please do. Vanny streams cooking and Final Fantasy and has awesome tattoos and cooks really delicious food and is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. You can send me updates. I just won't get them right away. You can send me whatever you want. My phone's just not gonna buzz. So if you send me something and you want me to see it, just type in chat, check your phone, and then I'll check it. Because babe, I'm working. This is my job, babe. I'm working. You can send me as many updates as you want. Videos, texts, whatever. But if it's something really important that you need me to see right away, just let me know here. Okay. Okay. No, because it was making me sad because I want you to send me updates. But also, if I don't turn my phone on Do Not Disturb, I will be on it. I was trying to watch the, what is it? The Gay and Marvelous Life of, Chad Gallo? Yeah, The Gay and Wondrous Life of Caleb Gallo. My friend introduced me to it, and I watched it for the first time yesterday. It was a romp. It was excellent. I kept going on my phone because when I watch TV or I watch shows, I go on my phone. And at one point, she was like, "If you're not into it," and I was like, "No, I'm into it. I just need little screen time. I need little screen time. I need big screen time with my little screen. Please, let me have both." And so this is my medium screen, little screen time. But I did find Carmilla on Project Gutenberg. If you guys are not familiar with Project Gutenberg, there's a bunch of free domain books on there. Books that you can get for free. You can get Kindle versions for free and download them. Yes, and you need a rest. Please keep resting, and I will talk to you. I'll call you. We will talk. So this is Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan LaFanu, which I don't know. He doesn't go by Joseph. There's his full name. Copyright 1872. Yeah. I love this. This ebook is for use of anyone, anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away, or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at gutenberg.org. If you're not located in the United States, you'll have to check the laws of the country where you are located in using this ebook. Because it was published so long ago that it's not under any sort of copyright laws, which is what makes it good to read on stream. I know there are people who do read copyrighted works on stream and get away with it, which is fine. I'm not judging. It's just not something that, like, me playing music is already risky enough. Sometimes I don't like doing it. I don't like having my VODs muted, but here we are. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of water and then I'm just going to start reading, and you guys just, be along for the ride, I suppose. Please judge on my behalf. Please judge on my behalf. So this is Carmilla. I'm going to read the prologue first. There is a prologue. The prologue doesn't really... I read the prologue before stream. It doesn't really make much sense to me. But the prologue. Upon a paper attached to the narrative which follows, Dr. Helesius has written a rather elaborate note, which he accompanies with a reference to his essay on the strange subject in which the MS illuminates. It's MS, both capital with a period at the end, so I don't know. This mysterious subject he treats in that essay with his unusual learning and acumen and with remarkable directness and condensation. It will form but one volume of the series of that extraordinary man's collected papers. As I publish the case in this volume simply to interest the laity, I shall forestall the intelligent lady who relates it in nothing. And after due consideration, I have determined, therefore, to abstain from presenting any précis. Peanut, please. That was really uncalled for. Hi, homies. I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page and everything is completely unrelated. And it was just an odd coincidence because, as we know, Ash read Shrek fanfiction out loud on her stream. And I actually don't know about the content of Carmilla, if there's any content warnings. I do know that it's a Star Fox, you made it. Hello. I do know that it is a vampire. It's a sapphic vampire novel. Carmilla is the protagonist, and the vampire protagonist and the other protagonist are both women. So it could be fun. We'll see. We were talking about the précis of the learned doctor's reasoning, or extract from his statement on a subject which he describes as involving, not improbably, some of the profoundest arcana of our dual existence and its intermediates. Sapphic, I see, is lesbian. Hi, Crookie. Sapphic. They gay. I was anxious on discovering this paper to reopen the correspondence commenced by Dr. Hesselius so many years before, with a person so clever and careful as his informant seems to have been. Much to my regret, however, I found that she had died in the interval. She probably could have added little to the narrative which she communicates in the following pages with, so far as I can pronounce, such conscientious particularity. You're welcome. And because this was written in the 1870s, there is going to be language that I may stumble over and have to look up pronunciations, because I like pronouncing things correctly. Like précis is spelled P-E-R-E-C-I-S, but there's an accent on the E. And I don't know if it's précis. I think it's précis. Don't know what it means. It's French, I think. But we shall begin. Chapter 1 is called An Early Fright. In Styria, we, though by no means magnificent people, inhabit a castle, or schloss. A small income in that part of the world goes a great way. 800 or 900 a year does wonders. Scantily enough, ours would have answered among wealthy people at home. My father is English, and I bear an English name, although I never saw England. But here, in this lovely and primitive place, where everything is so marvelously cheap, I really don't see how ever so much more money would at all materially add to our comforts or even luxuries. Schloss. S-C-H-L-O-S-S. It's lock in German. Schloss is lock, like a lock. But in this context, I think it's a type of castle, I suppose. My father was in the Austrian service and retired upon a pension and his patrimony, and purchased this feudal residence and the small estate on which it stands a bargain. Nothing can be more picturesque or solitary. It stands on a slight eminence. It stands on a slight eminence in a forest. The road, very old and narrow, passes in front of its drawbridge, never raised in my time, and its moat, stocked with perch and sailed over by many swans, and floating on its surface white fleets of water lilies. Overall, the Schloss shows its many-windowed front, its towers, and its Gothic chapel. The forest opens in an irregular and very picturesque glade before its gate, and at the right, a steep Gothic bridge carries the road over a stream that winds in deep shadow through the wood. I have said that this is a very lonely place. Judge whether I say truth. Looking from the hall door towards the road, the forest in which our castle stands extends 15 miles to the right and 12 miles to the left. The nearest inhabited village is about 7 of your English miles to the left, and the nearest inhabited Schloss of any historic associations is that of old General Spielsdorf, nearly 20 miles away to the right. Oh, it's amazing! I've never read it before. I'm really excited. I have I have said the nearest inhabited village because there is only 3 miles westward, that is to say, in the direction of General Spielsdorf's Schloss, a ruined village with its quaint little church now roofless, in the aisle of which are the mouldering tombs of the proud family of Karnstein, now extinct, who once owned the equally desolate chateau which, in the thick of the forest, overlooks the silent ruins of the town. I'm really excited. I love 19th century Gothic horror, especially. I actually have a book. Actually, wait, is it in here? Well, no, because this is weird horror stories. Gothic weird horror stories. I don't think Carmilla is technically weird. I do not think it's in here. And I do want to read from this book, too. I think it would be a lot of fun. Because there is a lot in here that is public domain. Yeah, it's not in here. That's fine. Yeah, no, I love Gothic literature. It's one of my favorite genres. Okay, so we're talking about the Karnstein Chateau. It's ruin. A town in ruins. They're all dead. Respecting the cause of the desertion of this striking and melancholy spot, there is a legend which I shall relate to you another time. 25 years, too. This is 25 years before Dracula. If you think about... I mean, 25 years before now, what, Shrek came out. I must tell you now how very small is the party who constitute the inhabitants of our castle. I don't include servants, or those dependents who occupy rooms in the buildings attached to the Schloss. Listen and wonder. My father, who is the kindest man on earth, but growing old, and I, at the date of my story, only 19. 8 years have passed since then. And I and my father constituted the family at the Schloss. My mother, a Styrian lady, died in my infancy, but I had a good-natured governess who had been with me from, I might almost say, my infancy. I could not remember the time when her fat, benignant face was not a familiar picture in my memory. This was Madame Peridon. We're going to call her Peridon? I will let you know where I fall on this. That's the name. A native of Bern, whose care and good nature now in part supplied to me the loss of my mother, whom I do not even remember. So early I lost her. She made a third at our little dinner party. There was a fourth, Mademoiselle de la Fontaine, a lady such as you term, I believe, a finishing governess. She spoke French and German. Madame Peridon, French and broken English, to which my father and I added English, which partly to prevent its becoming a lost language among us, and partly from patriotic motives we spoke every day. The consequence was a babble, at which strangers used to laugh, and which I shall make no attempt to reproduce in this narrative. And there were 2 or 3 young lady friends besides, pretty nearly of my own age, who were occasional visitors for long or short. Wow, I lost it there. And there were 2 or 3 young lady friends besides, pretty nearly of my own age, who were occasional visitors for longer or shorter terms, and these visits I sometimes returned. These were our regular social resources. But of course there were chance visits from neighbors of only 5 or 6 leagues distance. My life was notwithstanding rather a solitary one, I can assure you. Interesting. We're going to listen to this word because I believe it's French. Yeah. It's the plural. Big word. Big foreign word. Gouvernant. Because it's the plural of her governesses. My gouvernante had just so much control over me as you might conjecture such sage persons would have in the case of a rather spoiled girl, whose only parent allowed her pretty nearly her own way in everything. We love a spoiled protag. Let's go. The first occurrence in my existence, which produced a terrible impression upon my mind, which in fact never has been effaced. Thank you. I try. Was one of the very earliest incidents of my life which I can recollect. Some people will think it so trifling that it should not be recorded here. You will see, however, by and by why I mention it. The nursery, as it was called, though I had it all to myself, was a large room in the upper story of the castle, with a steep oak roof. I can't have been more than 6 years old when one night I awoke, and looking around the room from my bed, failed to see the nursery maid. Neither was my nurse there, and I thought myself alone. I was not frightened, nor I was one of those happy children who are studiously kept in ignorance of ghost stories or fairy tales, and of all such lore as makes us cover up our heads when the door cracks suddenly, or the flicker of an expiring candle makes the shadow of the bedpost dance upon the wall, nearer to our faces. I was vexed and insulted at finding myself, as I conceived, neglected, and I began to whimper, preparatory to a hearty bout of roaring, when to my surprise I saw a solemn but very pretty face looking at me from the side of the bed. It was that of a young lady who was kneeling, with her hands under the coverlet. I looked at her with a kind of pleased wonder, and ceased whimpering. She caressed me with her hands, and lay down beside me on the bed, and drew me towards her, smiling. I felt immediately delightfully soothed, and fell asleep again. I was wakened by a sensation as if 2 needles ran into my breast very deep at the same moment, and I cried loudly. The lady started back, with her eyes fixed on me, and then slipped down upon the floor, and, as I thought, hid herself under the bed. I was now for the first time frightened, and I yelled with all my might and main. Nurse, nursery maid, housekeeper all came running in, and hearing my story, they made light of it, soothing me all they could meanwhile. But, child as I was, I could perceive that their faces were pale with an unwonted look of anxiety, and I saw them look under the bed and about the room, and peep under tables and pluck open cupboards, and the housekeeper whispered to the nurse, "Lay your hand along that hollow in the bed. Someone did lie here. So sure as you did not, the place is still warm." I remember the nursery maid petting me, and all 3 examining my chest, where I told them I felt the puncture, and pronouncing that there was no sign visible that any such thing had happened to me. The housekeeper and the 2 other servants who were in charge of the nursery remained sitting up all night, and from the time a servant always sat up in the nursery until I was about 14. I was very nervous for a long time after this. A doctor was called in. He was pallid and elderly. How well I remember his long, saturnine face, slightly pitted with smallpox, and with his chestnut wig. For a good while, every second day, he came and gave me medicine, which of course I hated. The morning after I saw this apparition, I was in a state of terror, and could not bear to be left alone, daylight though it was, for a moment. I remember my father coming up and standing at the bedside, and talking cheerfully, and asking the nurse a number of questions, and laughing very heartily at one of the answers, and patting me on the shoulder, and kissing me, and telling me not to be frightened, that it was nothing but a dream, and could not hurt me. But I was not comforted, for I knew the visit of the strange woman was not a dream, and I was awfully frightened. I was a little consoled by the nursery maid's assuring me that it was she who had come and looked at me, and lain down beside me in bed, and that I must have been half dreaming not to have known her face. But this, though supported by the nurse, did not quite satisfy me. I remembered in the course of that day a venerable old man in a black cassock coming into the room, and the nurse and housekeeper, and talking a little to them, and very kindly to me. His face was very sweet and gentle, and he told me they were going to pray, and joined my hands together, and desired me to say softly, while they were praying, "Lord, hear all good prayers for us, for Jesus' sake." I think these were the very words, for I often repeated them to myself, and my nurse used for years to make me say them, in my prayers. I remembered so well the thoughtful, sweet face of that white-haired old man in his black cassock as he stood in that rude, lofty brown room with the clumsy furniture of a fashion 300 years old about him, and the scanty light entering its shadowy atmosphere through the small lattice. He kneeled, and the 3 women with him, and he prayed aloud with an earnest, quavering voice for what appeared to me a long time. I forget all my life preceding that event, and for some time after it is all obscure also, but the scenes I have just described stand out vivid as the isolated pictures of the phantasmagoria surrounded by darkness. So, recap. Vampires. Really not much of a recap. Okay. When she was 6 years old. Not hot. She was a child. She was 6 years old. She has this very vivid memory of someone slipping into her bed and comforting her and biting her, and well, the 2 pinpricks in her breast and her chest. I love how this is written. I do love how this is. It is the protagonist. It's like a diary. Brain went to vampires, not her age. Just that. No, you're fine. My brain often goes to vampires being hot too. I'm sure Carmilla is hot. Carmilla's the vampire, right? Cass would know. Is Carmilla the vampire or is Carmilla the main character? I think Carmilla's the vampire. We haven't gotten there yet, but it's not spoilers. This has been around for 200 years. If you're in spoiler territory, then it's not 200. 150? Ish. Yeah, this has been around for 150 years, so we're past spoilers. We are so past spoilers. And we're on to chapter 2, which is called, again, I love being spoiled. Speaking of, I am going to check my phone. I'm going to check my phone in between chapters because I can. As a little treat. I'll check my phone between chapters. Yes, we will do this really quick. I think I can do that really quickly. Do this really quickly. And do that. Okay. I didn't read it when it came out, so this is spoiler territory. Oh, wait. I was there when it came out. In fact, never mind. Could it be me? Could I be Carmilla? Who's to say? Am I self-inserting on my own stream and reading a story about myself? The world may never know. Chapter 2, A Guest. I'm now going to tell you something so strange that it will require all your faith in my veracity to believe my story. It is not only true, nevertheless, but truth of which I have been an eyewitness. It was a sweet summer evening, and my father asked me, as he sometimes did, to take a little ramble with him along that beautiful forest vista which I have mentioned as lying in front of the Schloss. General Spieldorf cannot come to us as so soon as I had hoped, said my father, as we pursued our walk. He was to have paid us a visit of some weeks, and we had expected his arrival next day. He was to have brought with him a young lady, his niece and ward, Mademoiselle Reinfeld, whom I had never seen, but whom I had heard described as a very charming girl, and in whose society I had promised myself many happy days. I was more disappointed than a young lady living in a town or a bustling neighborhood can possibly imagine. The visit and the new acquaintance it promised had furnished my daydream for many weeks. And how soon does he come? I asked. How soon does he come, for real? Not till autumn, not for 2 months, I dare say, he answered, and I'm very glad now, dear, that you never knew Mademoiselle Renfeld. And why? I asked, both mortified and curious. Because the poor young lady is dead, he replied. I quite forgot I had not told you, but you were not in the room when I received the General's letter this evening. I was very much shocked. General Spielsdorf had mentioned in his first letter 6 or 7 weeks before that she was not so well and he would wish her... not so well as he would wish her, but there was nothing to suggest the remotest suspicion of danger. She died. Here's the General's letter, he said, handing it to me. I'm afraid he is in a great affliction. The letter appears to me to have been written very nearly in distraction. We sat down on a rude bench under a group of magnificent lime trees. The sun was setting with all its melancholy splendor behind the sylvan horizon, and the stream that flows beside our home and passes under the steepled bridge I have mentioned wound through many a group of noble trees, almost at our feet, reflecting in its current the fading crimson of the sky. General Spieldorf's letter was so extraordinary, so vehement, and in some places so self-contradictory, that I read it twice over, and the second time aloud to my father, and was still unable to account for it, except by supposing that grief had unsettled his mind. It said, I have lost my darling daughter, for as such I loved her. During the last days of dear Bertha's illness, I was not able to write to you. Before then, I had no idea of her danger. I have lost her, and now learn all too late. She died in the peace of innocence and in the glorious hope of a blessed futurity. The fiend who betrayed our infatuated hospitality has done it all. I thought I was receiving into my house innocence, gaiety, and a charming companion for my lost Bertha. Heavens, what a fool I have been. I thank God my child died without a suspicion of the cause of her sufferings. She has gone without so much as conjecturing the nature of her illness and the accursed passion of the agent of all this misery. I devote my remaining days to tracking and extinguishing a monster. I am told I may hope to accomplish my righteous and merciful purpose. At present, there is scarcely a gleam of light to guide me. I curse my conceited incredulity, my despicable affection of superiority, my blindness, my obstinacy, all too late. I cannot write or talk correctly now. I am distracted. So soon as I shall have a little recovered, I mean to devote myself for a time to enquiry, which may possibly lead me as far as Vienna. Sometime in the autumn, 2 months hence, or earlier if I live, I will see you. That is, if you permit me. I will then tell you all that I scarce dare put upon paper now. Farewell. Pray for me, dear friend. And that's the letter. That's the letter that they got. That's crazy. Imagine. Literally. And this is why, okay, so this is what I wrote in my go live notification. I was like, we're going to read this, but we're going to be yapping about it. Because, there goes my headphones. Okay, they will stay down there. I need them. Hold on. Okay, I need to rearrange here a little bit. The main character, whose name we do not know yet. Thank you, Randy. The main character, whose name we do not know yet, who is writing this, was supposed to have a friend at the Spieldorf castle, was the one that's closest to their house. On the other side of the ruined village, right? And he had a daughter who was going to be her friend, and the dad's like, oh, by the way, your friend's dead. I forgot. You weren't there when I got the letter. It's a good thing you never met her, because she's dead now. Literally, he says, I'm so glad that you did not know her. Where does he say that? Yeah, I am very glad now, dear, that you never knew Mademoiselle Reinfeldt. And why? Because the poor young lady is dead. That is the exact conversation. And then he was like, I forgot. Yeah, I quite forgot I had not told you, but you were not in the room when I received the letter. Okay. All right, so we read the letter. He's going to Vienna. Pray for him. In these terms ended this strange letter. Though I had never seen Bertha Reinfeldt. I want to say Renfield, and I'm wondering if this was if Bertha Reinfeldt was the inspiration for Renfield. Right? Though I'd never seen Bertha Reinfeldt, my eyes filled with tears at the sudden intelligence. I was startled, as well as profoundly disappointed. I love Love is Blind, though. Gus and I were watching 90 Day Fiancé the other way over the weekend. Oh, God, Love is Blind is silly. I haven't watched the new season yet. It was a soft, clear evening, and we loitered, speculating upon the possible meanings of the violent and incoherent sentences which I had just been reading. We had nearly a mile to walk before reaching the road that passes the Schloss in front, and by that time the moon was shining brilliantly. At the drawbridge, we met Madame Perrodon and Mademoiselle de la Fontaine, who had come out without their bonnets to enjoy the exquisite moonlight. We heard their voices gabbling in animated dialogue as we approached. We joined them at the drawbridge and turned about to admire with them the beautiful scene. The glade through which we had just walked lay before us. At our left, the narrow road wound away under clumps of lordly trees, and was lost to sight amid the thickening forest. At the right, the same road crosses the steep and picturesque bridge, near which stands a ruined tower which once guarded that pass, and beyond the bridge an abrupt eminence rises, covered with trees, and showing in the shadows some gray ivy-clustered rocks. Over the sward and low grounds a thin film of mist was stealing like smoke, marking the distances with a transparent veil, and here and there we could see the river faintly flashing in the moonlight. No softer, sweeter scene could be imagined. The news I had just heard made it melancholy, but nothing could disturb its character of profound serenity and the enchanted glory and vagueness of the prospect. My father, who enjoyed the picturesque, and I stood looking in silence over the expanse beneath us. The two good governesses, standing a little way behind us, discoursed upon the scene, and were eloquent upon the moon. Madame Perrodon was fat, middle-aged, and romantic, and talked and sighed poetically. Mademoiselle de la Fontaine, in right of her father, who was a German, assumed to be psychological, metaphysical, and something of a mystic, now declared that when the moon shone with a light so intense, it was well known that it indicated a special spiritual activity. So, Mademoiselle de la Fontaine is a spiritualist. I love this. Spiritualism also in the late 1800s was huge. Huge. There was a whole spiritualist movement, and people were hosting seances and trying to contact the dead and believing in ghosts and... There actually are some surprising... I wish I could remember who. There are some authors from that period who, and like celebrities, authors and celebrities from that period who were surprisingly into spiritualism, and I wish I could remember who it was. Part of me wants to say Mark Twain, but I could be wrong. I think a lot of the fiction authors back then, a lot of it was fiction. A lot of those authors were huge spiritualists, which I think is really fun. Yeah. Let's see. So she said that the moon shining with light so intense indicates special spiritual activity. The effect of the full moon in such a state of brilliancy was manifold. It acted on dreams, it acted on lunacy, it acted on nervous people, it had marvelous physical influences connected with life. Mademoiselle related that her cousin, who was mate of a merchant ship, having taken a nap on deck on such a night, lying on his back with his face full in the light of the moon, had awakened after a dream of an old woman clawing him by the cheek, with his features horribly drawn to one side, and his countenance had never quite recovered its equilibrium. The moon this night, she says, is full of idyllic and magnetic influence, and see, when you look behind you, at the front of the Schloss, how all its windows flash and twinkle with that silvery splendor, as if unseen hands had lighted up the rooms to receive fairy guests. There are indolent styles of the spirits in which, indisposed to talk ourselves, the talk of others is pleasant to our listless ears, and I gazed on, pleased with the tinkle of the ladies' conversation. I have got into one of my moping moods tonight, said my father, after a silence, and quoting Shakespeare, whom, by way of keeping up our English, he used to read out loud, he said, "In truth, I know not why I am so sad. It wearies me. You say it wearies you, but how I got it, came by it." I forget the rest, but I feel as if some great misfortune were hanging over us. I suppose the poor general's afflicted letter has had something to do with it. Still the father talking. At this moment, the unwonted sound of carriage wheels and many hoofs upon the road arrested our attention. They seemed to be approaching from the high ground overlooking the bridge, and very soon the equipage emerged from that point. 2 horsemen first crossed the bridge, then came a carriage drawn by 4 horses, and 2 men rode behind. It seemed to be the traveling carriage of a person of rank, and we were immediately absorbed in watching that very unusual spectacle. It became, in a few moments, greatly more interesting, for just as the carriage had passed the summit of the steep bridge, one of the leaders, taking fright, communicated his panic to the rest, and after a plunge or two, the whole team broke into a wild gallop together, and dashing between the horsemen who rode in front, came thundering along the roads towards us with the speed of a hurricane. Hurricane. That's the name of Crooked's horses. The excitement. I wonder if, because Hurricane is one of the default, Hurricane is one of the default horse names. And I'm wondering if they threw Hurricane in because of this. That would be really funny. The excitement of the scene was made more painful by the clear, long-drawn screams of a female voice from the carriage window. We all advanced in curiosity and horror, me rather in silence, the rest with various ejaculations of terror. Our suspense did not last long. Just before you reach the castle drawbridge on the route they were coming, there stands by the roadside a magnificent lime tree. On the other stands an ancient stone cross, at sight of which the horses, now going at a pace that was perfectly frightful, swerved so as to bring the wheel over the projecting roots of the tree. I knew what was coming. I covered my eyes, unable to see it out, and turned my head away. At the same moment, I heard a cry from my lady friends, who had gone on a little. Ejaculations of terror. I know. I tried to get past that word without, because it means what it means, you know? Or maybe it was. Who knows? Who knows? Curiosity opened my eyes, and I saw a scene of utter confusion. 2 of the horses were on the ground. The carriage lay upon its side with 2 wheels in the air. The men were busy removing the traces, and a lady with a commanding air and figure had got out and stood with clasped hands, raising a handkerchief that was in them every now and then to her eyes. Both. Through the carriage door was now lifted a young lady who appeared to be lifeless. My dear old father was already beside the elder lady with his hat in his hand, evidently tendering his aid and the resources of his schloss. The lady did not appear to hear him, or to have eyes for anything but the slender girl who was being placed against the slope of the bank. I approached. The young lady was apparently stunned, but she was certainly not dead. My father, who piqued himself on being something of a physician, had just had his fingers on her wrist and assured the lady, who declared herself her mother, that her pulse, though faint and irregular, was undoubtedly still distinguishable. The lady clasped her hands and looked upward, as if in a momentary transport of gratitude, but immediately she broke out again in that theatrical way which is, I believe, natural to some people. She was what is called a fine-looking woman of her time of life, and must have been handsome. She was tall, but not thin, and dressed in black velvet, and looked rather pale, but with a proud and commanding countenance, though now agitated strangely. "Who was ever being so born to calamity?" I heard her say, with clasped hands, as I came up. "Here am I, on a journey of life and death, in prosecuting which to lose an hour of possibility to lose all. My child will not have recovered sufficiently to resume her route, for who can say how long? I must leave her. I dare not delay. How far on, sir, can you tell is the nearest village? I must leave her there, and shall not see my darling, or ever hear of her till my return, 3 months hence." I plucked my father by the coat, and whispered earnestly in his ear, "Oh, papa, pray ask her to let her stay with us. It would be so delightful. Do pray." "If madam will entrust her child to the care of my daughter, or of her good governante, Madame Perdon, and permit her to remain as our guest under my charge until her return, I will confer a distinction and an obligation upon us, and we shall treat her with all the care and devotion which so sacred a trust deserves." "I cannot do that, sir. It would be a task your kindness and chivalry too cruel. It would be a task your kindness and chivalry too cruelly," said the lady distractedly. "It would, on the contrary, be to confer on us a very great kindness at the moment when we most need it. My daughter has just been disappointed by a cruel misfortune, in a visit from which she had long anticipated a great deal of happiness. If you confine this young lady to our cave, it will be her best consolation. The nearest village on your route is distant, and affords no such inn as you could think of placing your daughter at. You cannot allow her to continue her journey for any considerable distance without danger. If, as you say, you cannot suspend your journey, you must part with her tonight, and nowhere could you do so with more honest assurances of care and tenderness than here. Hi, Kiwi. Fishy. All the Kiwis, all your Kiwi emotes just make me want to bounce. I don't know what it is. It's probably the bouncing. There was something in this lady's air and appearance so distinguished and even imposing, and in her manner so engaging, so to impress one quite apart from the dignity of her equipage, with the conviction that she was a person of consequence. Right? By this time, the carriage was replaced in its upright position, and the horses quite tractable in the traces again. Oh, we have an ad starting in 4 seconds. I can stop during the ad breaks. We're going to take a break during the ad breaks, because I will not read. We're going to take a little 3-minute ad break. while I do some business. Business. Okay. Excellent. Well, I'm all caught up. Apparently. Supposedly. Allegedly. Okay. What's everyone got going on this weekend? Tomorrow's my weekend already. So, caught up on business, allegedly. Oh, we doing business here? God, I gotta start reading again. Who wanna listen? I love reading out loud. I used to do it on stream all the time. I used to have a stream that went from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Was I only doing it on Wednesdays? Tomorrow's my Friday. Woo! Skolos would know. I think it was Wednesdays. And I do need to finish The Man. I do think it's on Project Gutenberg. Actually, I can look that up. How do I search? Search and browse. Stoker, I hardly know her. Weekend, may have a game night with friends, car shows, bike ridings, but only if I get off my ass to do any of it. It is so much easier. I found it. I found the man. Why do so many people want the Bell of Tacos? I was gonna say because it's cheap, but it's really not that cheap anymore. Be for real. Alright, the man is on Project Gutenberg. I think I knew that, though. Yeah. Yeah. It's so fucking not. It's not. Oh, it's yap time. It is. It is. I'm taking a brick. Brick? I got 12 bricks. Haven't eaten Taco Bell, the Bell of Tacos, in 30 years. Yeah, the Bell of Tacos is wild. Keep it that way. You're really not missing anything. You're so right, though. I can't remember the last time I had Taco Bell, but I don't have it infrequently. Hi, Circa. Hello. I feel like I do a really good job of saying hi to everybody in the beginning of stream, and then like once people start trickling in the middle, I don't do a very good job. Whatever I had didn't agree with me, having my back. See that'll do it. Oh, White Castle is rough. I just found 12 bricks. Woo. Sitting on the side. Auto road. Okay. I catch your meaning, but I'm gonna ignore it. Also, my bangs are bothering me a lot. Will they stay like this? Oh, they might. We might do that. Because, yeah. Okay, cool. They were like tickling my forehead, and I don't want to deal with that right now. Welcome back from the ads. I did not read. If there is anyone here who is not subbed and is experiencing ads during the stream. We're almost done with this chapter, actually. They flipped the carriage back over. Yeah, isn't this fun? You get to see a lot more of the blue this way, too. Yeah. I just like pull everything forward a little bit. It's a little weird, but it's really fine. I also have a rubber band. I could theoretically, I don't think it'll stay. If I had like a clip or something. A clip would be good. I just have a rubber band. Let's see if I can rubber band it right here. I don't know if it's gonna work. Oh, it might. Okay, we're just gonna... Nope, it didn't. It's falling out. That's fine. I'll just have a little anime, like... No. Okay. By this time, the carriage was replaced in its upright position, and the horses quite tractable on the traces again. The lady threw her daughter a glance, which I fancied was not quite so affectionate as one might have anticipated from the beginning of the scene. Then she beckoned slightly to my father and withdrew 2 or 3 steps with him out of hearing, and talked to him with a fixed and stern countenance, not at all like that which she had hitherto spoken. Christian said, I haven't had Taco Bell in like 5 years, and White Castle I haven't in like 12 years, because there's not one around here. Yeah, I will eat both. I am a human garbage disposal. I am a possum personified. I will eat anything you put in front of me. I was filled with wonder that my father did not seem to perceive the change, and also unspeakably curious to learn that it could be that she was speaking almost in his ear with so much earnestness and rapidity. 2 or 3 minutes at most, I think she remained thus employed. Then she turned, and a few steps brought her to where her daughter lay, supported by Madame Perrodon. She kneeled beside her for a moment and whispered, as Madame supposed, a little benediction in her ear. Then hastily kissing her, she stepped into her carriage. The door was closed. The footmen in stately liveries jumped up behind. The outriders spurred on. The physicians cracked their whips. The horses plunged and broke suddenly into a furious canter that threatened a spoon. A spoon? Where did I get spoon from? A furious canter that threatened soon again to become a gallop, and the carriage whirled away, followed at the same rapid pace by the 2 horsemen in the rear. Closest White Castle I know is about a 3-hour drive away. I've got everything is so close to me. It do be that time though, home stretch. Bye, Kiwi, love you, Ma. Bye. Bye. I'm trying to get my hair out of my face, but it's not working. I'll just have to deal with it. It's just that my hair is touching my eyeballs now. My bangs are too long, so they're touching my face. That's the end of chapter 2. Recap. Chapter 1, when she was 6 years old, she had an experience where a woman snuck into her room and then hid under her bed after supposedly biting her on the neck. Chapter 2, we find out that the Lord who was supposed to have a friend for our main character, that she died. And then suddenly and miraculously, a carriage comes careening down their driveway and dumps 2 ladies out. And they... literally, our main character sees this young girl and is like, can we keep her? But Dad, can we keep her? Literally. I was just like, please, Dad, we can keep her here. I was gonna check threads. I've been posting on threads more. I don't love it. I never liked Twitter either. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 3 is called We Compare Notes. And picks up pretty much at the end of chapter 2. Because the first 2 chapters so far, the first chapter was a recounting of a story from her childhood, and then the second chapter started the recounting of this story. The third chapter is the continuation of the recounting of this story. We follow the cortege with our eyes until it was swiftly lost in sight in the misty wood, and the very sound of the hoofs and the wheels died away in the silent night air. Nothing remained to assure us that the adventure had not been an illusion of a moment but the young lady, who just at that moment opened her eyes. I could not see, for her face was turned from me, but she raised her head, evidently looking about her, and I heard a very sweet voice ask complainingly, "Where's Mamma?" Our good Madame Perrodon answered tenderly and added some comfortable assurances. Then I heard her ask, "Where am I? What is this place?" And after that she said, "I don't see the carriage. And Matska? Where is she?" Madame answered all her questions in so far as she understood them, and gradually the young lady remembered how the misadventure came about, and was so glad to hear that no one in or in attendance on the carriage was hurt, and on learning that her mamma had left her here till her return in about 3 months, she wept. I was going to add my consolations to those of Madame Perrodon, and when Mademoiselle de la Fontaine placed her hand upon my arm, saying, "Don't approach. One at a time is as much as she can at present converse with. A very little excitement would possibly overpower her now. As soon as she is comfortably in bed," I thought, "I will run up to her room and see her." My father, in the meantime, had sent a servant on horseback for the physician, who lived about 2 leagues away, and a bedroom was being prepared for the young lady's reception. The stranger now rose, and leaning on Madame's arm, walked slowly over the drawbridge and into the castle gate. In the hall, servants waited to receive her, and she was conducted forthwith to her room. The room we usually sat in, as our drawing-room is long, having 4 windows that looked over the moat and drawbridge upon the forest scene I have just described. It is furnished in old carved oak, with large carved cabinets, and the chairs are cushioned with crimson, I don't know, it's a proper noun, Utrecht? I think it's a German word. Utrecht velvet. I'm Googling it. I love a good Google. Utrecht is a city in the Netherlands. Aha. See, where's Merlin when you need him? Utrecht velvet. This stamped furnishing fabric imitates, in design and technique, 18th century velvets made in the Netherlands. Ooh. Okay, yeah. Oh, there's some velvet from 1871 in the Art Institute of Chicago, in the textiles department. It's that, like, if you think of, like, the red velvet curtains in a castle that have, like, hi, Roy. They have, like, the, floral kind of designs on them. That's stamped. The Utrecht velvet is, like, stamped velvet. The walls are covered with tapestry and surrounded with great gold frames, the figures being as large as life, an ancient and very curious costume, and the subjects represented are hunting, hawking, and generally festive. It is not too stately to be extremely comfortable, and here we had our tea, for with his usual patriotic leanings he insisted that the national beverage should make its appearance regularly with our coffee and chocolate. We sat here this night, and with candles lighted, we were talking over the adventure of the evening. Madame Perrodon and Mademoiselle de la Fontaine were both of our party. The young stranger had hardly lain down in her bed when she sank into a deep sleep, and those ladies had left her in the care of a servant. "How do you like our guest?" I asked, as soon as Madame entered. "Tell me about her." "I like her extremely," answered Madame. "She is, I almost think, the prettiest creature I ever saw, about your age, and so gentle and nice." "She is absolutely beautiful," threw in Mademoiselle, who had peeped for a moment into